This is our first rogue guide video. We're going to show you how to gear, gem, enchant, and possibly glyph. First thing we'll start off with is stats. A rogue is dependent on crit, haste, and hit. Mastery's not needed at all. It's just for your slice and dice, as you can see right here, and your other finishing moves. Crit is the best thing for rogues. Once you have maybe over 30% crit, you can optimize haste. That's to your own benefit though. And hit has to be at 5%. Mine is a little bit over that because I haven't really reforged yet. But if you can put it to about 6% for those night elves. Sorry, they're racial. And yeah, that's it for your stats. So it's basically agility over resilience over 5%, 5 to 6% hit over crit over haste. Haste should be your last thing to optimize. The next thing that we're going to worry about is gemming. I've seen a lot of rogues, they can gem agility and haste, agility and hit, haste, just haste, agility and stamina. I don't like the agility and stamina, but as you can see, my friend Torador, he uses it and he's pretty good with it. You can put hit rating gems in too, but those aren't really needed if you just gem like the agility and hit. What I usually do is for the meta socket, I'll put in the 54 agility, 3% increased crit effect. That's the agile shadow spirit. The yellow sockets are usually the deadly ember topaz, 20 agility, 20 crit. And the red sockets are delicate infernal rubies, 40 agility. And the purple sockets, last but not least, are agility and hit. This is just because you don't have to do this, but I do it anyway. This gives you your crit here, so you can usually reforge your gear into more crit. So it's best to optimize out of that, because you tend to get more crit from gear than gems. Let's look at Dead Things and see what he does. Dead Things does kind of the same thing I do. He gems almost the same way, but he likes to put a little bit of resilience in, and there's nothing wrong with that, because rogues are pretty squishy if we don't have like evasion and cloak of shadows and combat readiness up. So resilience isn't bad either. The next thing we're going to talk about is your talent tree. There's many ways you can have your rogue talent tree. I prefer this talent tree that I have here because it's more survivable and it gives a decent amount of damage. My friend Torador, though, he spec'd kind of like me. He put more into ambush because he likes his shadow dance to be harder crits. And there's nothing wrong with that either, because he still has stuff in improved recuperate. And Dead Things here has the same talent tree as me, which is probably a really good talent tree for people that are still gearing. Basically what my talent tree is 1 in Night Stalker, only because when you're in stealth you want to either get away and have the reduced cooldown on stealth. The improved ambush increases your crit on ambush. That's not really needed, but it's good for when you shadow dance because you want to burst really hard. That's why Torador is spec'd into 3 in ambush, improved ambush, because he wants more burst. That's optional once you get gear. You could do that when you don't have gear, but it really wouldn't help. The relentless strikes, I put 3 into that because, you know, who wouldn't want 25 energy back when you hit them for a 20k crit with eviscerate and then go into more backstabs. Elusiveness, this is a really good move and probably my favorite really good talent and probably my favorite out of all the other talents, because it gives you that reduction on your vanish and blind on the cooldown, and a reduction on your cloak of shadows and combat readiness, so you can use those a lot more, and that's a lot of survivability there. Opportunity, this is a must. You gotta have 3 in that because backstab and heroic ambush are probably your best damage moves ever. Hemorrhage, that is also your best combo point gainer. That's really good. Find weakness. This is optional, but I usually recommend getting it because it's good for really when you start off, you get that extra damage on your target. And what I like to do is burst right off the bat. So it helps to have this extra damage bonus. Energetic recovery is definitely a must because you're always going to have recuperate up and you need to keep your energy up. Honor among thieves, it's optional to have 3 or 1. 2 is not really needed because 2 is almost as bad as 1. Basically, I put in 3 because I do a lot of arenas and BGs, so I usually run with people that crit a lot, and that gives me my extra combo point on my target. If you can put 1 in it and still have the chance of getting a combo point, but I rather have the 100% chance than no chance, which is, I mean, a 30% chance, which is still a chance. Premeditation, this is definitely a must for those rogues when you guys run away. Definitely helps. Definitely. You get to run away, throw up 2 dots, 2 combo points on your target, and then recoup. And you can constantly do that every 20 seconds. Or you could start off with that, like I do, because I have it macroed to my shadow step. Cheat death, must, because if you're not geared like Torador here, and in full kata, if you're like me, or if you're like Dead Things, our gear isn't the best, but it's definitely survivable. But when we get down low, we want to be able to notice that we're low, so cheat death saves our lives a lot. Preparation, definite must. You gotta have that instant vanish, so I can vanish right now, take it off, preparation, and then re-vanish. Our next move in our talent tree is Sanguinary Veins. Sanguinary Veins is very good for when you bleed, because if you bleed down a target and then burst, which I like doing if you get the glyph for hemorrhage, definitely good because you get to that extra 16% damage on your target, and when you have hemorrhage on the target, it stays even when you gouge, and it doesn't break your gouge, which is really good. Your last thing, Slaughter from the Shadows, very good reduction on most of your moves like hemorrhage and backstab, and it reduces the energy cost of Fan of Knives, as you can see. Definitely good. Separated Blades, I would not recommend getting this unless you're a rogue that likes to bleed a lot. But it's not too good because you shouldn't be ruptures and is maybe 1% of your damage, and it's only good for when you're about to get kited. Shadow Dance, of course, that's your best burst. Dead Thing wants to say a couple things before I get on to the next talent trees.
Alright guys, quick thing real quick. I just learned this from Junior the other day. A lot of you rogues out there still be using Sinister Strike and Shiv. You should completely replace that with Hemorrhage. Like, Sinister Strike and Shiv, like, sure, it'll get you those combo points, but you'd be burning down that energy too fast. And Hemorrhage, puts those bleeds on, and it does the same amount of damage. So I just want to throw that in there for you guys real quick.
Definitely a good add. Sinister Strike is probably one of your costliest moves. That's why it's only used in combat, because in combat you have that extra energy regeneration. The next thing in our talent tree is definitely in combat. I like doing this for survivability. It's optional, and like my friend Torador does, he only put 1 in it just so he could get the reduction on damage. I put 2 in it because I like the 6% damage reduction, and it restores an additional 1% health. So that's really nice. Sorry. Lethality and assassination, definite must. Your backstabs and hemorrhages crit a lot more. Coup de Grace, you can either spec into that 3 times or once, depending on what you do with improved recuperate. But I use Eviscerate a good amount of times, but I don't like using it too much because its damage isn't amazing. But definitely spec into that because it's good when you do use Eviscerate. Quickening, definite must for any rogue. Increase the healing of all your moves by 20%, and it gives you that extra 15% speed bonus. Definitely good. So that's a must. Puncturing wounds, depending on how you spec in improve recuperate in your other talent trees, you can put 3 or 2 or 1. We were just wrapping up on talent trees. You can throw in puncturing. We were on puncturing runes. You can throw in 1, 2, or 3 depending on what you do with like improve, recuperate, or your talent tree here. My friend Torador, he put 2 into his puncturing wounds because he crits. I mean, there's no need to because you gem a lot of crit and reforge a lot of crit, but it's optional. It doesn't really matter. Now for glyphs with dead things.
Alright guys, moving over to glyphs. This is for a sub rogue, for PvP. So for your prime glyphs, you're gonna want to rock the glyph of hemorrhage, which causes the target to bleed, dealing another 40% over 24 seconds. You're getting that extra DPS in that bleed damage. Then you got the glyph of backstab. Which grants you 5 additional energy. Get another attack off, which is good. Then you got your glyph of Shadow Dance. Like my homie over here, Torador, Shadow Dance is where he does a lot of his damage with that ambush. And when you get an extra 2 seconds, that's another ambush or 2 that you get in. Alright, on to the major glyphs. We got a glyph of Preparation, which instantly resets the cooldown of Kick, Dismantle, and Smoke Bomb. Dismantle's really good for, rocking red pallies or against any kind of warrior, especially if they're throwing that blade storm. Then you got that glyph of Sprint, which allows you to an additional 30% movement speed. Then you got your glyph of Garrett, which increases the duration of your Garrett ability silence by 1.5 seconds, which is good on those casters, real good. Then on minor glyphs, they're minor. You can really rock whatever you want, but I went with the glyph of Blurred Speed, which allows you to run on top of water, which is really nice for those BGs. And your glyph of Poisons, which allows you to apply them 50% faster. And I don't got a third one, but that's glyphs, guys.
Just one thing to add to dead things. It's optional to have glyph of preparation. Well, it's nice to have it, but it's optional because glyph of evasion is pretty good too. It's for when you're in those close range fights and you really can't get away like against warriors because you're bled too much. That's really nice because you dodge most of his attacks unless he's straight behind you. Well, I think we talked about just about everything except for enchanting. For enchanting and also poisons. For enchanting for your helm, you can get the 50 agility, 25 haste from the honor vendor. You can get the shoulder one too. That one's pretty good. The cloak you want to get. Let's see what we have. You can get crit. Crit is really nice, of course. For your chest, you want to get the 20 peerless stats, the 20 extra stats. The bracers, you can do crit too, or you can go for haste, doesn't matter. For your gloves, I went for haste because I do have already 30% crit, and like I said, over 30% is still good, but there's no need to stay over that. For your belt, just get the Ebon Steel belt buckle. For your pants, you can get the 190 attack power and 55 crit, but I don't have that yet because I'm poor, sorry. On your boots, you can get the haste or the crit. That's very good. For your rings, if you're an enchanter. For your main hand, you want to put landslide. For your off hand, you put pirate and weapon chain. And I've seen a lot of rogues mess up putting on hurricane. Hurricane is not good at all. If you get dismantled, you have a full 8 seconds of doing nothing. If you get the pirate and weapon chain, I believe it's 4 seconds. That's a lot better than having 450 haste. Haste is still not that big of a deal. And for your poisons, all you need to do for your poisons is main hand wound poison. You can alternate with instant poison, but wound is better for comps with a healer, or if you're downing a healer, stuff like that. For your offhand, you want to put crippling. For your throne, you're gonna put on. You can do crippling or mind numbing. Mind numbing is good against casters when you. Yeah, that's about it, guys. So like, comment, and suggest what we should do next. This is Rogue Status on the server Rivendare, and enjoy it.